repeat the question because I was into unmuting my mic.
Yes, no problem, ma'am. What inspired you to become a psychologist?
So I think you are going to ask me many nostalgic questions, and I'm going to go back to my before 3 decades where I started off. Professionally, I started my profession as a teacher, and being done my B.Ed and got interested in child psychology more, student psychology, and then I did my MBA in HR, where I started having more interest, developed more interest towards learning more human behavior and mind. So that was the interest.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Like you have mentioned, you have been shifting your field from education to psychology and then to business management. And can you just tell us how this has helped you so far in your journey?
Yeah, it helped me to understand more about personal. See, everything, even though they are different fields, I tried to connect everything, whatever I have studied in each fields. Being a teacher, I try to understand the psychology of the students, adolescents, and their behavior, and peer relationship, and the stress in the work, and how the work-life balance is there throughout. Whether it is a teaching profession or it is in business management or stuffs, and they all are interconnected in everything. So I think like finally it shaped me in finding out what I need to do in psychology.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. And can you just tell us more about your job profile? You have just mentioned that you have been working for more than 3 decades. So can you just tell us what exactly you've been doing all those years?
Will it be okay if I take a longer time and my answer be lengthy? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So basically, like when I started off, as I said, I started my profession as a teacher, and being basically a physics student. Graduation, I did my graduation in my physics. And while I was doing physics itself, I actually liked quantum physics and atomic physics more. So, but somehow I couldn't do my master's because of circumstances and situations. I could not do my master's in physics. So in those days, like, for girls, I'm talking about in 90s, okay, early 90s. So in those days, like people were thinking, being a teacher, teaching profession is one of the best profession for a girl. So I ended up finishing B.Ed, and that was actually helped me a lot in understanding the psychology and the human behavior. But somehow, instead of understanding others, I started understanding me more. What is happening within me and what is happening with people outside. That was the tool which I took when I studied psychology. And every time when I meet people, I try to be non-judgmental and just observe them as they are, what they are doing. This has been a habit right from a very early stage for me. So probably that is the reason I have ended up as a psychologist and doing yoga also. So I would request all the young psychologists here also to, rather than trying to understand what your client thinks and behave, it would be better as a psychologist, first we understand what is in my mind and what am I, how I am behaving in various situations. So that should be the analysis point for every psychologist. So if I can analyze that way, then in every way that I can say that I have tried to fine tune my abilities, skills, capacities, and what are the criticisms that we have faced in life, and Are they really true with my personality? And if they are true, how can I change it? See, it's not that every individual is always positive and always negative. No, you have both positivity as well as negativity. So when I inquired about those things, it was very hard for me to accept that, yeah, I have certain problems. So that courage was developed when I started my research in yoga. So I could fine tune my abilities, capacities, and skills as a psychologist further in that way. So that is one of the connection that I find everywhere. So as a psychologist, also for young psychologists, they have to analyze what are their, rather than analyzing what are their strengths and strengthening them, it would be wiser to analyze what are your weakness and take out that weakness or convert those challenges to opportunities. Only those things will help you to sustain yourself as a successful psychologist in the field.
Yes, ma'am, that is so true. Sometimes we tend to not understand our own feelings, and I guess you have tell us very. And can you just tell us, what is the qualification to become a psychologist in India?
In India, the qualification is basically, I would say, rather than having a master's or MPhil, it would be better if you can develop unconditional positive regard and empathetic feeling. Yeah, of course, the certificates are very much essential about, you have to have a master's, at least a master's degree in any field, psychology, like clinical or applied or general or any field you can take up a master's, minimum master's. And then, you have to develop those micro skills. What is that? That is what is very important. Micro skills are more than the micro skill, the core conditions. The core conditions one has to develop. That is the main qualification one has to develop to become a psychologist, especially in India. Not only in India, in everywhere for that matter. In India more because people are expecting, because in India, it's a very diverse culture. So, and unconditional positive regard and empathy is the root of this culture, this country's culture. So without having that root as a core condition, it will be very difficult for a person to be a successful psychologist in India. We are not analytical. We are not practical oriented in India. We are logical. We are intuitive based. So that feel good factor, that is what is expected from a psychologist here in India. Not how much they know about CBT, how much they know about catharsis, how much they know about what is the research, what is there behind it, DBT or anything. What they are expecting is, do they have the experience to talk to me? Do they have the life experience to talk to me? That is what in Indian setting people are expecting. Therefore, unconditional positive regard and empathy has to be developed here to become a successful psychologist and in India. Other than that, yeah, basically a master's in psychology is a must.
Okay, thank you so much for that, ma'am. And can you just tell us what is the importance of research in the field of psychology?
Very important. Very, very important. Especially young psychologists have to put in their research on developing more indigenous based techniques. In Indian setting, whatever we are using now is based on the Western culture. So I don't think they are culture fair. So youngsters have to develop more indigenous based techniques which can be used in this country. Because in India, if you take every 100 kilometers, there is a diversity in culture. The belief system change, entire belief system change. And right from the food they eat to clothing they wear, it changes. So even the physiological base itself changes, means accordingly the higher hierarchy of needs and how much value they give to each love, belonging, safety and security and esteem, how much they change. Within every 100 kilometers, you can feel that change. Of course, the core is one. Whether they belong to south or north or east or west, the core is the same. But the way they go to the core changes within every 100 kilometers. So the research is very, very important in India, especially to develop more indigenous based techniques. Another important point for research based is that nowadays we say that in all the places we say that psychology is a science and we are trying to find out the base in the neuroscience also. There are neuropsychology is a new field itself that is coming up, where they are trying to find out what is the neural connections and what is the changes in the neural connections when there is an emotion or the feeling changes. That is what they are trying to find out. Then why do we still have a doubt whether it is an arts or a science? Why can't we call it as only a science? Even now there are places where it is called as MA psychology or BA psychology, Bachelor of Arts psychology, Masters of Arts psychology. Why can't we have it as MSc and BSc? So people have to do more research on these two aspects. Research is very, very important in this field.
Ma'am, I agree with you with the research and especially with the diversity, because coming from different places, as you have mentioned, different dresses, different food, and research is very important in today's world. And my next question would be, what are the, we know you have, accomplished so much, but can you just tell us some of your major accomplishments?
I don't agree with the word that you say that I have accomplished so much. To be frank with you, I haven't done anything. That would be my underlying view, because there is whatever we learn, we have learned everything and there is nothing to learn, and then the progress stops, the growth stops there. And every client is unique to me. Every session is new to me. With every client, I learn. With every sessions, I learn, whether it is a group or individual session. When I take internship classes, I learn a lot from the youngsters. Like in today's psychology students, they are teaching me more things, especially in coming to 1 year before, I was not in a position to use Zoom meetings or Google Meet platforms to take psychology classes or yoga classes. But nowadays I'm taking it. It is because we learn from these youngsters only. Now, today's youngsters are highly analytical. They know many things. They are very brilliant. They are very intelligent. Only thing is they are not able to channelize their energy in a positive direction. If they can utilize the experiences of elders like us and channelize their energy in the correct direction, they will shine up like anything, because they are highly analytical and they are very, very brilliant. I'm so happy to see the youngsters here, because when we learned how we were thinking and what today's youngsters are thinking, there is a large gap. There is a large gap that I see. Three decades before, how are the adolescent students behaved, and now after 3 decades, how these adolescent kids are behaving. It's entirely a different thing. There is a lot of change that has taken place in their thinking abilities, cognitive abilities itself. It has changed a lot. So today's field, they are looking more into practical oriented approaches. They want results, and if they want results, they are even ready to wait for the time, give their time and energy on it and work on it. So if those guys can be channelized with the elders' experiences, and if they are ready to take, that is also one point with the youngsters. They should be ready to take the advices and guidances from the elders. Of course, we don't talk like you, right? So you should be ready to take our advices, at least 10 words. If we say, if you can take 2 words, at least then it would be of great use to you. So if you can use the advices of the elders and experiences of the elders and channelize your energy in the right way and right direction, the youngsters will come up really very well, and because they are going to be the future of the society. And I'm very happy for that. They are more analytical. And
yes,
coming to accomplishments and stuffs, I would like to share one incident where somehow Mindcare, which is my clinic, the Mindcare Center for Mental Health, we attract more of psychotic clients. I don't know why, but it happens. Most of the time we get psychotic clients. Psychotic clients, minimum of delusional and maximum of hallucinations and stuffs. So one client I would like to refer here, of course, being understanding the counselor's confidentiality and stuffs. A young guy who came, he was having substance abuse, bipolar and schizoaffective behavior. He was drinking, he was alcoholic, not having any kind of substances, but alcoholic. Increased his this maniac, and in the low phase, he used to have even tactile and auditory hallucinations. So we worked with that guy without medicines. 1.5 years we worked with yoga and psychotherapy, and that guy came out of all his problems. He came out of his addiction. His addiction behavior stopped within 3-4 months, and then slowly his hallucinations and high elated moods have been changed. Within say 7-8 months, he was totally all right, but he was under observation with us for another 7-8 months, so that he was put on a maintenance therapy exercises. And that is why I said around 1.5 years we worked with this guy. So 7-8 months we had treated him purely, but after 7-8 months he was on maintenance therapy for 7-8 months, so that his behavior is stabilized and cognitive restructuring is stabilized. And after that, now he is married and he is working in a company, and he is leading his life in a very happy manner. So I would like to quote this. So there are various indigenous techniques which youngsters, I have taken only a few. With my research, I have found out only certain things, and there are so many techniques that is available in this culture. You just have to dig deep into that Indian philosophy and find out how you can utilize it to cure any kind of abnormal behavior. And in our clinic, most of the auditory hallucination and visual hallucinations, if they are coming in the initial stages without medicines, we treat with the yoga-based psychotherapy. So within 3-4 months, we have seen good results. One lady, 34 years, she came and she was literally explaining to us, she sees some black thing, and that black thing is, piercing her stomach with a very sharp knife, and she could feel the blood that is oozing out of her stomach. It's all literally hallucinations that she was explaining to us. When she was explaining itself, we could feel that anxiety symptoms throughout her body. The body itself was shivering when she was explaining to her about that blood, and she could feel, she could smell the blood and all these things she was saying. So we started off with it, but she was not taking any medicines. So, so she was treated, and within 4 months, all her hallucinations and everything had stopped. So menopausal psychosis, postpartum psychosis, all these things, if it is intervened early and identified early and intervened early, can be cured with the yoga-based psychotherapy. From yoga, I have taken only a spoonful of what is there. So you guys can do more research on that yoga darshanas and the various darshanas. Lot of stuff is there in Indian philosophy. So you have to read through it. It took for me around 10 years of research to take, to formalize, to structure one particular kind of therapy to treat certain behaviors. So like that, you can work on various darshanas and take out certain indigenous techniques which can help because in the coming up millennium, in the coming up years, abnormal behavior is something which you guys are going to have a tough time, when treating with abnormal behaviors. Even a newborn is born with more anxiety because the mother was suffering with anxiety during the pregnancy. So the child, when it is coming to the world itself, is born with anxiety, ADHD. I worked with one pediatric OCD client, pediatric OCD with psychotic symptoms. He was 9 years old, and 4 sittings, the OCD was stopped. So within 2 sittings, the auditory hallucinations were stopped. Such techniques we have in Indian philosophy, one has to do. That is why I said research is very, very important in this area. It has to be documented. It has to be documented and done as a research and get published. I am ready to help you guys if you want to do any research on that.
Thank you so much. I believe that is truly amazing, whatever you have done. And so can you just tell us more about like some of the interesting aspects of your job, of your profession?
Interesting aspects of the profession. Yeah, sometimes it's so humorous that you don't feel like be very serious talking to the client, but you cannot smile, you cannot even laugh in front of the client. Many times we have come across such places, especially when we are sitting with the marital clients and things. And just a day before yesterday, I was having an online counseling session with one of my old clients. So I don't know how many of you will understand Tamil. She said, because I advised her, like, you have to listen to your mother, parents are so important in life. Like that, we were counseling during a part, it's a part of counseling that I was telling her. So she was telling me, in the young days itself, I didn't listen to my mother. Do you think that I will listen to my mother now? And there were 4 of my other trainee students who were sitting, they started laughing. But it was like, I couldn't laugh because I was in the screen with her. Okay, the other students were off the screen, behind the camera they were. So like this, there are so many incidences which happens, especially in the marital settings inside the counseling room. My trainee counselors will go out and laugh and drink some water and come. I cannot even go out and laugh because I'm giving them counseling. So I cannot even go out and laugh. So I'm very strict in that way because I have told my trainee counselors, if you are sitting inside, you should never open your mouth, giggle, that you should not giggle. So because for them, for the client, the problem is very, very important. The problem is very, very big for you as a psychologist because you are viewing the problem from a outside. For you, it looks so simple. But for them, the problem is very, very big. So it is very important that you don't giggle, you don't smile when you are in the counseling sessions. But many times it happens like happens. Another way how it happens is some youngsters, see now it is, I'm 50, I'm in my 50s, okay. So when young adults come, when they talk something continuously, I'm having back-to-back sessions, means sometimes I get angry. Okay, but due to the professional ethics that is inbuilt, I cannot shout at them. At the same time, I have to be empathetically say that they are wrong. that is a very interesting and situation which I take a long time for that, because it is, I myself take 2-3 deep breaths to control my anger at that particular time, or drink some water. And then I talk to them very politely, very positively, I have to say, controlling all my anger. So these are not certain things which I come across in daily life. Is your internet unstable or mine?
Having worked for so long and being in this working professional, can you just tell us some of the challenges that you have faced so far?
Lots of challenges. Lots of challenges, I could say. Being a lady, standing in the front in the society, I run my own suicide prevention 24/7 cell also. So many people misuse the counseling sessions. Many people misuse the numbers. They call late night and they misbehave with you. To your clinic drunk. No, that also happens. Many times it happens. The client walks into your clinic at 7. You should be very careful on that. And being a lady, you have certain ethical considerations to work with clients. So is there a lag? Am I audible? Is there a lag?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So these challenges, yeah, you instead of getting afraid of those challenges, face those challenges and come up. For that, you should have courage. You should be strengthened from inside. You should have passion towards the subject. You should consider all kinds of ethical implications, being a lady, being a female into this profession. For male also the same thing. It is not that male or female. For female, the ethical considerations are more than a male. But for both of them, we have ethical considerations which has to be taken into consideration, and you should know where to draw your lines when you are in the counseling session or the therapy session, which I always tell my internship students, like, you should know where you are, you should know where you stand. If you are looking for certain non-verbal cues in your client, always remember that your client is also looking for those non-verbal cues in you. If you are taking the MSc of the client, if you are taking as a psychologist the MSc of the client, observing his appearance, his mood, his behavior, all these things, the client is also looking at you in the same way. At least your appearance, he is looking at you. So dressed professional. Your dress, your sense of sitting, your sense of talking to him should be in such a way, him or her, it should be in such a way that he should respect you. That much consideration you should give for your profession. That much professional your profession should be. That I am very particular, and it was very difficult during the early days. Now I am getting used to it.
And areas do psychologists in India mostly work under?
I'm not hearing.
Yes. What areas do psychologists in India mostly work under?
What areas you are asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Areas means broadly means they are everyone want to take up counseling. They want to come for counseling, but they study clinical. So that itself is a problem. Another thing, they work for hospital setting, they go and work. School settings, they go and work. Youngsters do not have the courage to set up their own clinic. I don't know why. Why are you not confident enough of your own theory base? I don't know why. But youngsters today, they are not confident enough. When I asked, I came across one MPhil student. He is a psychology MPhil student. He was doing his research on de-addiction, smoking. So I asked him like, why don't you try opening a clinic, dear? He was a male, he was a man. So he said, ma'am, you are right, ma'am, but I need to have some stable income, no, for running my family, he's saying. But uh, if you are like confident of your techniques and therapies, you can generate a stable income in clinic. So you have to get yourself trained in one form of therapy and be confident of that therapy. And you can do wonders because, as I said, you all are very brilliant. So you can do wonders in curing the mental disorder and the mental illness. Just 5 minutes before I joined, she was talking about there is a difference between mental disorders and mental illness. Schizophrenia is a mental illness. Mental disorders can be easily cured. Stress, depression, anxiety, all these things can be easily cured if you take training of certain kind of indigenous techniques.
And ma'am, what kind of organizations or agencies mostly hire psychologists?
See, that is a very sad truth that I have to say here, because psychologists are not given that respect as they should be. They consider counselors as a marketing counselor, which is a very, very sad truth. We have to accept that. And that is why the youngsters have to change those thought modalities youngsters have to change. The agencies, as I said, hospitals hire counselors to use in their setting. And schools, colleges, it has become mandatory in schools and colleges to have one counselor. Again, I feel like for 1,000 students, there is only one counselor, which is being hired by the school. Then how will the counselor be able to do justice for the job? The counselor will not be able to do justice for 1,000 students. At least 500 adolescents are there in that. After 8th, you are considered as an adolescent. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, higher secondary school. Almost 500 students are there for 1,000 students. How will the counselor be able to do justice? So those things are to be considered when it is coming of hiring as a psychologist. Psychologist first has to be treated for, given respect for their profession, which is not there in the social setting. And they think that counselors means, oh, you are giving only advice. No, that is what they are thinking. That advice also we are giving in a professional way that they are not understanding. Based on their problem only, we are going to give them any kind of suggestions. We are not going to advise them. We are going to give suggestions only as counselors. No? So that they are not understanding. Hospitals and schools and colleges, they hire counselors. Some NGOs also sometimes hire counselors, psychologists.
Okay, and ma'am, as a graduate or postgraduate just coming out of psychology, what should one approach, to entering the field of psychology?
What?
As a graduate or postgraduate, how should one approach to pursue into getting into the field?
You have done your postgraduate, then why are you fearing how to approach it as a field? You have done your post-graduation, you have done your master's. Yes. That is the fear that the youngsters are having. You have done your master's means, then why are you afraid? See, if an engineer has done his BTech in ECE means he is clear of his concepts, right? Anything you ask in electronics, he is ready to answer you. He is confident of his concepts. Why are you not as a PG holder? The base. You are not everything from the base. As a psychologist, you should approach the subject as if you are learning everything from the base. For example, I tell you, when you are learning the learning theories are there, no? Learning, I'm not going to take the theory, don't worry, it's not a lecture. Okay. So when you are learning the learning theories, especially the Pavlov's or the Skinner's, okay, and the observational learning, these things are main learning theories, no? Other than that, it's all small thing. Classical conditioning, parent conditioning, and observational learning are the basic three major learning theories. Okay, now you have learned it. Have you ever analyzed how I learned? When I learned to write the slanting line and the horizontal line and the vertical line, what theory I used? Was it a classical conditioning? Was it an apparent conditioning? Or was it observational learning? Can I differentiate? The moment I made tea, it was an observational learning, right? I observed my mother making tea and I am making tea. So that learning comes from observation. Will I be able to differentiate all the learning that I have within me based on the theories that I have learned? When I am learning the motivation and the emotion theories, will I be able to understand my emotions, my motivations, my frustration, my anger, frustration theory? So if that is the way one has to approach, that is the way one has to approach the subject. Try to understand what is good, because mind is a metaphysical concept. Mind is entirely a metaphysical concept. You don't know where it is, but you know that it is controlling your brain. See, as psychologists, you all very well know that mind is not brain. Yeah, as a psychologist, at least you all know that mind is not brain. If it is a heterogeneous group, if there is no psychologist, then we can consider that mind is equal to brain and then pursue further. But as psychologists, first itself, we are very clear mind is not equal to brain. That is the first chapter we study in Introduction to Psychology. Mind is not brain. Mind is a metaphysical concept and brain is the physical quantity of it. We study that. So first itself, we differentiated that. Now that metaphysical concept, what is there in me? What is my mind telling me? How my mind is controlling this object called brain? Because this brain is very important for controlling my behavior, my way of speech, my actions, my deliberations in the language. Everything in the output behavior, this brain plays a very important role. So this is controlled by a metaphysical concept which is called as mind, about which we do not know where does it lie, what are the building blocks, we do not know. There are theories, structuralism, functionalism is all there. Have we able to decode it? Can we make an model of it, working model of a mind? Can we make it? Why? Because I don't know my mind itself. That is the approach one has to have as a youngster, that let me see what is in my mind before I take up any client. Because the moment you study psychology, there will be some friends of you who are not studying psychology. They will come and ask you, oh, you are studying psychology. Tell me, what am I thinking? Many friends of you will ask, you know, you are studying psychology. Tell me, what am I thinking? I am not studying psychology to tell what people think. I am studying psychology to understand how I think. That should be the approach. I study psychology to understand why and how I behave in a certain way in certain situations. Why I feel in a certain way in certain situations. What are the theories behind it? Will I be able to apply that same desensitization theory to me? Or token economy to me? Cognitive restructuring, Robert, rational emotive behavior therapy, will I be able to apply it on me? Can I take me as my subject and work on me? before I work on any client. That will give you more confidence in the subject. That will give you more courage to face the clients. Come what may, I will face. All of a sudden, I was giving a therapy session and the client was lying down and I was doing Yoga Nidra. So the client was in a very relaxed position. Halfway through, you know, Yoga Nidra means it is dim light and it's completely sober, light. Halfway through means we are almost in a very trance state. That is what is Yoga Nidra is about. And all of a sudden, the client gets up and screams. And the client says, no, 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 that is not me. That is not me. That is not me. If there is a therapist who do not have experience in the field, who do not have the basic concepts clear, will get afraid of. Here, what is to be taken under consideration is the client getting up, scream, and started saying, that is not me, that is not me. That itself shows the client had gone into some REM sleep and had come across some unresolved fears, which she does not want to recollect and work. So she started screaming, because in theta state, what happens? Your senses are not functioning to its full, getting withdrawn. So she wanted to say something, and that is why she was not able to say, and she screamed. And when she got up and said, I'm not me, that means that she herself is feeling now guilt of screaming. So as a therapist, what I should say is, it's okay, Kanna, it's okay, relax, relax, it's okay. Drink some water, it's okay, relax. That is not you. I understand that. After saying that, she started crying like anything. Then went on catharsis. All the bottled up emotions she felt, she left. And then another half an hour of counseling or so, she felt relaxed, and I gave her some dark chocolate and she went out. Dark chocolates are something which gives you instant energy, you know. So those things, I don't know why I came this, why I asked you. Yeah, approaches, yeah. So only if you understand your own mind, what is happening in your mind, you will be able to take control over any kind of situations.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. And earlier you've mentioned about how psychologists are not, hired properly and stuff. So can you just tell us how we can create more awareness about psychology as a field?
I think it is gaining awareness. Psychology is gaining awareness. The stigma and taboo is reducing a lot, and people are coming up to psychologists. Thanks to WHO for the mental health theme and the depression theme that they have done. Again, what I would like to say here is more of awareness has been already created. Because people said that it is stigma, no awareness on mental health and all those things. Now there is more awareness. See, for example, you take Instagram, social media. Okay. Now you as a psychologist and me as a psychologist know the depth of the word existential crisis and existential vacuum. But a layman who has not studied psychology, he will also read that same post on existential crisis. Why I'm saying this is, I get calls, and the client says that, ma'am, I have existential crisis. Okay, will you do therapy for it? I said, first tell me what are the symptoms. Then I will decode whether you are having existential crisis or you are having general anxiety disorder. And they study a lot in Google. And because of that, what happens? Whatever symptoms are given in Google for schizophrenia, I and you will also be having it. If suppose I'm having a situational pressure and I'm not unable to sleep, in schizophrenia, unable to sleep is also a symptom prescribed there. Unable to sleep, 2 days I was not able to sleep. Am I having schizophrenia? There are many conditions in the life circumstances where we get irritated. A lot. My daughter comes inside the room when I am giving the interview. Will I not get irritated? I will. Getting irritated is mania. Am I mania? So all the symptoms that is given under everything in the disorder category, every normal person will be happy. It is said that 9 out of 10 so-called normal persons behave abnormally. 9 out of 10, we are normal. You and me are normal. Aren't we getting irritated? Aren't we getting angry? Aren't we not going out of sleep for some days together? Examination, let us take. Masters, end semester examination you are taking. Will you be able to sleep? 10 days your examinations are going. Means that 2 weeks you didn't sleep. As per DSM-5 criteria, 2 weeks if you are not able to sleep, you are clinically depressed. Then are you clinically depressed, client? After the examination, you are enthusiastic, you are excited, you are going out of it, you are coming out of it. But these, because you study psychology, even the psychology students also thinking the same way because they overthink. Do I have this? Do I have this? Do I have this? I'm treating one psychology student now, PG psychology. She's having auditory hallucinations. Studied more about abnormal psychology and studied more about psychosis and started thinking that she is having auditory hallucinations and she is able to hear now things. Now I'm treating one psychology student herself. In psychology, what you should do is condition your body and uncondition your mind. Mind functions very well when it is open. Don't keep it rigid. I know this, I know that, I have studied this, I have studied this. So I have this symptom, I'm not able to sleep. Am I getting anxious? Am I going into general anxiety disorder? Am I going into health anxiety? Don't overthink. Everyone will have general anxiety disorder. Everyone are worried. See, I'm having stomachache for 3 days means it is human tendency. I have to go and check a specialist to check whether I have any kind of problem in my abdomen or not. Then I will keep thinking, oh, I have stomachache. So will my liver dysfunction? Will I have cancer in the abdomen? Bhad mein jane do sabko. Live in this moment. Present moment is very important, and that is what yoga says. Condition your body and uncondition your mind. And that is why I took up yoga as a therapeutic technique.
And ma'am, can you just tell us your thoughts about suicide prevention in India?
What answer I can give in this? No? Suicide prevention in India, first suicide itself is wrong. After that only we have to talk about how to prevent it. The thought suicide itself is wrong. Why are we committing? Why is one person committing suicide? Because he is having fear of facing the problem. Fear of failure. So if that can be cured, then why another person is going to think of failure, suicide, taking his life? One has to think that life is very precious. Every moment is precious. Life is very, very precious. You are able to walk, you are able to think clearly, that itself is very precious moment. If you start appreciating your life, then you will never have the thought of suicide.
Yes, that is so true. And ma'am, due to the pandemic, students are not able to go to school and they have to study from home, and they do not have any practical classes. So can you just tell us how students will be able to gain practical knowledge?
No comments on this, because one has to learn on their own. It has been like that. I just 2 months before, when the clinic was open, I got 2 clinical psychology students. They came to my clinic with my resume, with their resume. They have completed their 2nd year, but they haven't done any practicals. None. Can we have any practical sessions? However, the college is teaching, we cannot teach. We are not going to teach theory to you. So you have to try your hands and learn from senior psychologists, and that's how you can learn. Otherwise, it is. But nowadays, people are teaching even projective techniques online. That even we are teaching. Our clinical psychologist also teaches projective techniques online, how to score, how to evaluate, and how to administer. These all is done. So I think the professors are also doing a wonderful job. So if they are not learning, then the problem is with the students, because in most of the online classes, sad truth is that you just keep the session online and you do your own work in your mobile, which is wrong. Instead of blaming the online session, it would be better what betterment I can do to do work on this.
Yes, and ma'am, due to the pandemic, do you think there will be more mental health issues coming up? And if so, what can we do to overcome that mental problem?
Yeah, from the first wave to second wave itself, in the first wave, we fought against the virus. In the second wave, we are fighting against the fear. So I don't know what would happen, and God shows His grace upon us that we are not entering into the third wave and the fourth wave. So this itself is causing a lot of fear. So what can be done to overcome that? Appreciate every moment of your life. Start living in the present. Humanistic existential therapists are going to come into picture. Trying to utilize the time that you have got, more than thinking of that I am isolated, think that you are in solitude. And try to analyze and be aware of yourself more.
And ma'am, can you just tell us more about your foundation, Mastermind Foundation? And can you also tell us what was your idea behind this foundation?
Mastermind Foundation started in the year 2005, having an idea of spreading mental health, because at those days it was like going to a psychologist was a taboo. Stigma was associated with the subject and the profession. So the idea of Mastermind Foundation is to spread awareness about mental health only. So for that, we worked at various places, especially in the frontline workers, army, police, doctors, schools, colleges, universities, community-based. Everywhere we have conducted various workshops to create awareness about stress and well-being, how to manage stress, and how there is no zero stress. No one can create a zero stress environment. That is waste. Okay. So that is like once that was done, stress management and well-being was talked more. Then slowly and slowly we spread our wings into the social service activities. Now we are into plantation drives and then feeding the hunger after settling down at Chennai. In the 2015 floods, we worked for feeding the hunger and distributing of materials to the people, to the plantation drives. Viriksham is working towards it. And now for COVID, we are providing pan-India free counseling to people across in 13 different regional languages. All are done as volunteering services. Any problems related to COVID and COVID related, and for that, any kind of counseling you need, you can just log into our website www.mastermindfoundation.com. It opens in the page of free COVID counseling. We have around 175 plus counselors on board with us. All are experienced counselors. Their numbers are given against their names, and the languages they are expert in, that is also given against their names. So you can choose your language and the counselor and call them. And that is why I said this is also a challenge. Please call them during days rather than during midnights and stuffs. If it is very urgent, really very urgent, you can call them at any time. But if you think that, yeah, you can talk to them in the morning, because they are also human beings. We all are human beings only, right? We need some rest. So that if you can consider, and you can give us a call at any time. So now, as for now, just last week we completed a webinar on how to fight against this three different webinars in 3 different languages to Puducherry police. And we are also providing free counseling to people of Tamil Nadu in all the 32 districts. The request had come from the health department, Tamil Nadu health department itself. So we are providing that. So as much as we are giving back to the society, and let us join hands, and together we can create a society in which we can make a better place for the future generation to live. We should remember that we have hired the society from the future generation. So what are we going to leave to them is what matters. So let us create a beautiful world, full of positivity, full of confidence, full of happiness, peace, and joy that only psychologists can create. So together we can. That is the credo of Mastermind Foundation. Together we can.
Ma'am, that is very wonderful. And we have a few questions on the chat as well as on YouTube, but due to time restraint, I won't be able to take up all. So I'll just ask a few questions. One question is, you are very passionate about yoga. Can you stress more on how yoga and the mentions of relieving stress and mental health in Indian philosophy?
Means they want some reference book?
Yes, ma'am. They would like to know
want what they want.
They would like to have like book recommendations.
Yoga cannot be learned through books. Yoga can be learned from trainers only. So you have to go to a trainer who is trained in yoga, who is a good instructor and trained in yoga, and get yourself trained. For that matter, Mindcare is a Ministry of Ayush authorized center for conducting yoga teacher training courses. So you can log into our website, mindcareindia.com, and from there you can take yourself to Ayush Yoga Training Center and get yourself trained. And regarding the books, all the basic scriptures that we have right from Vedas and Upanishads, try to read and try to assimilate some part of it. Take one particular thing, like I took yoga. You can take other darshana, Sankhya. I took Sankhya and yoga. You can take other darshana and anything. Or if you want, you can take Sankhya and yoga also. So in yoga also, I took only the pranayama. You can take asanas or other things and how to do that. So that way you can work on it. And other than that, yeah, any old books you can read. All Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, I wanted to say that. If you are so much interested in indigenous philosophy, start reading Bhagavad Gita. Because the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is our forerunner of psychologists. He is an all-time best psychologist. So you can read Bhagavad Gita apart from ism. Don't read the book as a religion-based book. Read the book as a psychology book, as you will read Sigmund Freud. Like that, you have to read this Bhagavad Gita, because the first chapter itself, it starts with Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada means it is just lamenting, right? So the entire Bhagavad Gita, his first chapter, he had lamented all his problems, and in the entire 17 chapters, Lord Krishna is counseling him. So you can read that. It's the best book for anxiety and depression, Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, it is all whole psychology.
And ma'am, I'll just take this as my final question for today. do you think the Indian education system should give more importance to Indian philosophy, as well as should they start teaching subjects like psychology since school level?
To give stress to Indian philosophy, yes. Psychology in the school level, yes, in the higher secondary. So I think the way of teaching techniques in Indian setting itself is right from age of 5. We are taught certain rules. Yamas and niyamas are taught in age and 5. Do not lie. That itself is a yama only. Jhoot nahi bolna. Shuddh rehna, be clean, take bath, get up early in the morning, do some rituals, puja karna, that is all niyamas only. Or personal and social disciplines. The disciplines can be inculcated right from LKG itself. Instead of saying the words, it is from yoga, it is from philosophy, that discipline can be maintained. No? And at the class 10 and 11, yeah, psychology as a subject can be taught.
Thank you so much, ma'am.